My mom is forcing me to marry my creepy stepbrother and have his child. Now she harasses me at work and lies about an inheritance. I'm a 29-year-old female, and I've got this older stepbrother, Chris, who's 42. Honestly, he's been a real pain ever since my mom got hitched to his dad. Let me give you a little backstory. Our parents got married when I was just 4, and he was 17. Both of them had lost their spouses before, and after the wedding, we moved to the U.S. because my mom had U.S. citizenship from a previous marriage. I was born in the U.S. too, but when my dad passed away when I was 1, my mom and I moved back to Colombia. My stepdad got his residency through their marriage, and Chris, since he was still a kid, came along for the ride. He wasn't too thrilled about me, though. All I remember is him constantly bullying me. He'd be left in charge of babysitting me, but that just meant locking me in the guest bathroom or the shed and stealing my lunch when he dropped me off at school. It got even worse when he started hurting my pets. I've got this old cat who's been with me for nearly 22 years, and he tried running her over with his car more than once. My parents wouldn't believe any of it, though. Chris could do no wrong in their eyes. My mom desperately wanted a son, so he always came first. The bullying escalated and got really creepy. He had this long key to unlock the bathroom door and would barge in on me showering. My underwear went missing, and I knew it was him. He even started taking photos of me while I slept. One night, I caught him, taking care of himself near me as I slept. I screamed, and my parents came, but I got in trouble for tempting him. I was 14 at the time, and he was 27. No one helped me, and things got worse until he did something I'm still in therapy for. When I was 16, I reached out to my half-brother Sam, who's 48 and fat, Rom, my biological dad's first marriage, to see if I could live with him for the last 2 years of high school. When Sam learned what was happening, he confronted my mom. She didn't care and told him to take me as long as he didn't ask for money. And just like that, my brother and his wife, Sandy, became my guardians. They took me in with my cat and the old family dog because I didn't trust leaving anything alive with Chris. My parents never checked in on me. My father's extended family knew what happened and made sure I finished school and got into college. I don't know my mom's family at all, but thanks to my dad's side, including Sam's mom and her family, I got my bachelor's and master's degrees without any student debt. Now, I'm working as a nurse practitioner and living with Sam, his wife, and their 2 kids. I pay a small rent, even though Sam and Sandy never expected anything, but it's the least I can do for them after 13 years. Moving out hasn't been an option because it's super pricey around here, and Sam insists I stay until I can buy a place. Everything was fine until my mom messaged me recently. I hadn't heard from her since I was 18 when she told me she had no responsibility for me anymore. This time, she sounded overly friendly, telling me she missed me and asking how I've been. I was a bit creeped out but answered politely, sharing updates about my life. She seemed really interested, knowing I was a nurse but not what kind. Then she started prying about my salary. I just said it was enough to cover my bills. Eventually, she got to her point, telling me I needed to pay off Chris's student debt so he could start making money like the man of the family. I couldn't believe it and just turned off my phone. When I got home, Sam was surprised to see me early. Sandy wasn't back yet, and I explained everything to Sam, showing him the texts. I've never seen him so angry. He told me to block my mom, stepdad, and Chris if I hadn't already. After chatting with Sam and Sandy, I asked my boss for a couple of days off, giving me a long weekend. My boss was supportive and told me to take it easy, but it backfired. My mom and Chris showed up at Sam's house the next day to confront me. I was alone since Sam and Sandy were, so there I was, hanging out at home since everyone else had their own things going on. My partner was at work, and the kids were at school. Out of nowhere, I found myself in this crazy situation, so I immediately called up Sam to fill him in. Sam, being the awesome guy he is, told me not to worry about opening the door for anyone, promising he'd be there ASAP. Meanwhile, my mom, bless her heart, was freaking out and yelling at me the whole time, claiming I owed them for every penny spent raising me. Apparently, my sweet brother Chris was entitled to whatever money they thought I had. While all this was happening, Chris was sneaking around the house, desperately trying to find an open window or door. But joke's on him, everything was locked up tight. The windows have safety bars, and the garage and yard doors were locked, and I had even double-checked the garage door just to be sure. I won't repeat the awful things Chris shouted at me when he spotted me through a window, but let's just say he suggested they should have thrown me out as a baby because I was such a burden. He pounded that window like he was trying to break in, and sure enough, the glass cracked under his frustration. He eventually gave up on the window and tried to kick down the front door. Thank goodness for our security door. Even though I knew I was safe, it was terrifying. In the middle of all their yelling, threatening, and hurling insults, I finally heard Sam outside, forcefully telling them to scram. I peeked out the window and watched with a mix of relief and amusement as Sam practically dragged my mom and Chris off the porch. Whatever he said to them out there really hit home, because they both looked pale and scared before they hightailed it to their car and zoomed off, way above the speed limit. Sam came in afterward and went straight into Big Brother mode, checking if I was okay and apologizing profusely while giving me the biggest hugs. Then Sandy showed up, looking just about ready to commit a felony out of sheer anger. Apparently, Sam had threatened to press charges against Chris for something awful he did to me when I was 16. Our stepdad, surprisingly, was even thinking about testifying against his own son, which was more than enough to keep Chris at bay. But unfortunately, not my mom. For 3 days straight, my mom didn't let up. She bombarded me with texts, calls from various numbers, and even got what she claimed was my maternal family to start hounding me for money. She argued that legally the money should be hers since she's my mother, saying it was rightfully hers from my late father's unpaid child support. Sam has been super supportive, helping me look into getting a restraining order against her, and I'm planning to take my stepdad's offer to testify so I can press charges against Chris. I can't quite forgive my stepdad for not stepping in sooner, but I do appreciate him trying now. There's a mysterious family feud going on, something about Chris wronging a relative of his dad, which probably influenced his decision. I'm taking a bit of time off work. My boss was super understanding and offered me some extra vacation days. I'm grateful because I desperately need the break, even if my therapist might need therapy after everything that's happened. Thank goodness for my dark humor and my supportive family on my dad's side, which are keeping me somewhat sane. Oh, and here's an update. I didn't think I'd be sharing this so soon, but my mother refuses to back down. To everyone who kindly gave me advice earlier, a huge thank you. Your kindness means the world during these tough times. Following your advice, I froze my credit, and I'm getting a new phone just for personal use. I'll keep the old one for work for a bit. Now, about the ongoing drama. We're working on pressing charges and might even look into a civil lawsuit for those 2 years of child support my mom owes. We're still weighing our chances, but my brother is all in for going scorched earth. Meanwhile, my mom's launched a new smear campaign, posting outrageous lies and false accusations on social media, dragging my stepbrother Chris into it by accusing him of assault, and me of being some kind of temptress who's been after Chris for ages. She even roped in a few so-called relatives, newly discovered aunts of mine, to back her up, though I've never met these women. My stepfather actually chimed in on one of her posts, calling her a liar and turning the tables by accusing his own son of misconduct. That's when I learned about the huge falling out with his family, stemming from Chris targeting one of his dad's nieces. I'm not sure of her age, but she's probably around my age or younger. Adding fuel to the fire, relatives from my biological father's side took to social media, calling out my mother for previously claiming to be an orphan with no family, yet now magically having 3 sisters. It's a circus, and all I can do is sit back and watch the show. Meanwhile, I'm enjoying being a stay-at-home aunt. My nephews love it. They finish their homework, and then we dive into all sorts of fun antics. My boss is helping me with some leave paperwork, so I'll be off for about 6 weeks, mostly working from home afterward. It's not the best situation, but spending time with the kiddos is a silver lining. Just to clear up another rumor, no, my mom isn't in some weird relationship with my stepbrother. She always wanted a son, and my birth didn't exactly fulfill that wish, so she's always treated my brother like her favorite. I guess that's love in her eyes, but she never misses a chance to remind me of how much I disappointed her just by being born a girl. And that's my story for now anyway. Hey there. So, according to the rules, I was told this is the right place to share my story, though I wasn't exactly sure how to get started. Anyway, here it goes. My mom became a widow when I was just a year old. My biological dad was significantly older than her. She was his second wife, and they had more than a 20-year age gap. After he passed, she ended up marrying her childhood sweetheart. He had a 17-year-old son whom my mom adopted. My dad was American, while my mom is Colombian. I was born in the United States, but then we moved to Colombia for a couple of years before heading back to the U.S. when I was 4. Throughout my childhood, my mom often expressed discontent about me being a girl. She'd make comments like, "If you were a boy, maybe we could have gotten more from your father," or "Girls are so useless." To her, I was nothing but the problem child. She took my inheritance and mostly spent it on my stepbrother. Whenever she had guests over, she'd introduce me with a joke about how I ruined her body and wasn't worth it because I was a girl. Many of her friends thought I had some kind of mental issues because she spread lies about me being mentally slow, often blaming it on my gender. Holidays were especially tough, as I was often left with a sitter because I was apparently too much of a hassle and would ruin things for my dear brother. We barely have one family photo from when I was 5. If I bought myself anything nice with my own money, like makeup or clothes, she'd take it from me, insisting I wasn't pretty or worthy enough to deserve such things. Her advice was to keep a plain face because it would supposedly make it easier for me to find a job after high school. She had no plans of letting me go to college either. The most devastating part is that my mom never protected me. My stepbrother turned out to be a predator. Initially, he bullied me by stealing my food and locking me in dark places. But when I hit puberty, things got worse. He'd walk in on me while I was showering, even if I locked the door, steal my underwear, watch me sleep. And at 16, he even sexually assaulted me. At that time, he was 29, and my mom blamed it on me, claiming I was tempting her poor sweet boy. Thankfully, I was saved by my biological half-brother and his wife. They took me in at 16, helped raise me, and supported me through college with help from my paternal family. Even my father's first wife contributed and treated me with more kindness than my own mother ever did. Now, I'm 29, working as a nurse practitioner and saving up to buy my own home. My mother found out and started demanding money, claiming it's her right because she's my mother. She also expects me to pay off my abusive stepbrother's student loans. Since I refuse to comply, she's taken to the internet, accusing me of trying to ruin her son's life and owing her for all her supposed care and love over the years. Some women who say they're my aunts have joined her in this charade, although I've never met any maternal family members and always thought my mom was an orphan. Now, suddenly, I've got 3 aunts who claim they've witnessed what a terrible person I am. So, here's an update. This might be my last one about my mom and stepbrother since we're gearing up for a legal battle. But I finally had a laugh. In my earlier posts, I didn't mention much about my biological father because he died when I was a baby, so I never really knew him. I only have one picture of him holding me as an infant. I mostly learned about him through stories from his family, and I know he was a man of means. He had assets that he specifically divided in his will. He wasn't fabulously wealthy, but enough that I could live comfortably if I managed my finances well. I didn't know he had left me anything, and neither did my half-brother Sam, his son with his first wife. Being the daughter of an affair partner turned second wife, I assumed any inheritance I had was squandered by my mom, mostly on things for her favored stepson, Chris. Growing up, he was my abuser. My mom used to say daughters don't need inheritance. They should just marry a wealthy old man like she did. Well, Since my mom and Chris have been on my case lately, we went to my dad's lawyer to gather some necessary documents for our lawsuit. The lawyer is a sweet older man who looks a bit like my dad and was his best friend. When we met, he gave me a hug and said he was happy to finally meet me. His wife was there too, and she also warmly greeted me, insisting we have dinner at their place. Once we caught up, we discovered that my mother had been faking receipts to get money from my trust. Lots of it, including some from when I was under Sam's guardianship. She's not the executor of my trust, and neither should she be. It seems like my mom has been sending in receipts for all sorts of things, claiming they're for me because I'm supposedly still in medical school. Funny thing is, I actually finished school back in 2021. Well, her little meal ticket got ripped up because what she's doing is basically fraud, and now she's in big trouble. My hands are pretty much tied when it comes to pressing charges, especially since she's been claiming me as a dependent on her taxes. My dad's lawyer let her know that there's just no way this can stay in civil court. The IRS and the police had to get involved. It didn't help that she was using my social security number for things she shouldn't have. Huge thanks to everyone who encouraged me to freeze my credit. You've seriously saved me. I probably won't be able to post for a while since I'm going to be super busy, and honestly, I'm just mentally exhausted from everything that's happened. If my mom hadn't messed with me, I wouldn't have even found out about how she's been using my trust. Originally, the trust was set up for me to take over once I got married or graduated college, and since I didn't know about it, I never submitted the paperwork to take control. She could have just kept milking it dry by feeding fake information. Now, I'm sorting out what's left of my trust. There's still quite a bit in it, and it should be enough for me to buy a house or condo if I mix it with my savings. I'll even have some leftover to invest or use for other safe ventures. I might hold off on buying anything for a while, though, as I'm uncertain how secure things are since my mom has my social security number. Here's a personal rant. No big legal updates to share yet. So, I just got back from an unpleasant encounter with my mom at a bar, which was anything but enjoyable. Quick background. My mom is a PR, greedy liar. She let her stepson, Chris, who's 13 years older than me, abuse me from a young age. It started with physical abuse and later turned into sexual abuse when I was 14 until I turned 16. Now, she wants me to clear some student debt and has been mooching off my biological dad's inheritance. Last night, I decided to go out for a girls' night with some friends. My half-brother Sam and his wife Sandy had been urging me to get out more. I mostly just hung out at the bar stools because I'm a big introvert, but I like watching my friends have fun. I was chatting with the bartender when suddenly, my good mood took a nosedive. I noticed my mom walking towards me alone. As soon as she spotted me, she practically launched herself at me, hugging me and crying about how much she missed me and how different I looked. I was trying really hard to get away from her, but she started causing a scene, begging us to reconcile and apologizing for whatever misunderstanding I had about my stepbrother's affection. People were looking at me, and some even felt sorry for her, encouraging me to hug her back. It was embarrassing and beyond wrong. I just lost it, yelled at her to leave me alone, and walked out. That made things worse because she followed me, with a couple of strangers calling me a terrible daughter. She kept insisting that Chris cared for me and wanted us to be a family again. She even said he found me beautiful, so he couldn't help himself when he assaulted me, referring to it as making love, as if it was consensual. I was a minor. He was nearly 30. I just broke down, crying and screaming for her to leave me alone. Luckily, one of my more sober friends called Sam, and he showed up quickly, scared her away, and took me home. Now, I'm absolutely sure I don't want to go out again. For those wondering why I never called the cops, I actually did. I started reporting the abuse when I was 11 and told them about the sexual abuse at 16. They always took his side. I don't trust the cops anymore. They don't seem to care about sexual assault victims. I'm just venting all this here because my therapist is unavailable, and Reddit is the next best thing. As for Update 5, sorry for the radio silence. Things were quiet until this weekend, so there wasn't much to post. For a quick recap, my mother has always favored my stepbrother Chris, who is 42 and was my abuser when I was growing up. The abuse started when I was 11 and continued until I was 16, after which I moved in with my half-brother. Recently, my mom and stepbrother tracked me down and have been harassing me. Right now, I'm in a legal battle with them to recover some of my dad's stolen inheritance and work through other issues. This weekend, once again, my mom decided to confront me while I was working from home, doing clerical work for the clinic. Hey folks! So, here's the scoop on what's been going on with me recently. I'm a nurse practitioner by trade, but I took on some clerical duties so I could work from home. That was right around the time when my mom and Chris started causing some drama in my life. Unfortunately, the period where I could work from home ended, so now I'm back at the clinic, seeing patients most of the time. Saturday went by without much fuss, but Sunday was when things got interesting. While I was at the clinic, I noticed someone on the schedule with the same first name as my mom, but a different last name. Now, my mom's name is super unique and has quite an old-fashioned vibe to it. I've only come across it twice in my entire life. Given the large Latino community in my area, I initially thought it might just be a coincidence. My family is Colombian, you see, although I was born here in the U.S. to an American dad. But surprise, surprise, it turned out to be my mom using a fake last name. The moment I saw her, I got on the phone with my boss. She already knew what was going on, so she quickly stepped in to ask my mom to leave the clinic. Now, I get that this could be seen as controversial, but let me explain the reasoning before any debates start. My mom was just there for a general checkup, not an emergency or anything life-threatening. It wasn't about denying her service for any reason that isn't allowed. It was just that I, as a staff member, felt uneasy and, quite frankly, unsafe with her there. There are plenty of clinics around with different pricing options, so she could easily get herself checked somewhere else. Plus, our state law backs this decision. If she had been in distress, we wouldn't have asked her to leave, of course. But she wasn't. The real kicker? My mom went on a bit of a rampage, demanding that I be the one to see her. My boss, bless her, wasn't having any of it and stood her ground, saying my mom had to leave, or else they'd have to call the cops. I watched the whole back and forth unfold on the security cameras from the waiting room. It was quite the scene. Eventually, my mom stormed out, throwing a letter at my boss before she left. She even shoved a lady who was just walking in, though thankfully no one got hurt. After this fiasco, my boss handed me the letter and assured me she'd make sure I wouldn't have to take on any patients with my mom's first name in the future. I took a break and decided to read the letter to see if it could help my legal case. Here's a translation of what she wrote. My lovely daughter, it breaks my heart that you're not speaking to me. I love you dearly, and all I want is to make up for the time we've lost. You're the only connection I have left to your father, whom I loved dearly. I realize there's been a lot of misunderstandings regarding Chris. He truly loves you and wishes you'd give him a chance to show it. He always talks about how beautiful you are and hopes to spend more time with you. He adores you, and I think you should consider his feelings. He's even asked me to persuade you to marry him, which I think is a wonderful idea. Your stepfather and I are likely getting a divorce, and marrying Chris would be the perfect solution to keep us all together as a family. Chris is eager to raise a child with you and wants to be a father. Let me know when you're ready to go wedding dress shopping. Love, Mom. Now, here's some personal info to give you context. Due to Chris's actions, I had medical complications and can't have kids. My mom, Chris, and even the police know this. Unfortunately, the incident was ruled as consensual since I was 16, the legal age of consent, so nothing was done. I've shown this to my lawyer, who added it to our growing case file. We're still waiting for a court date, and many officers aren't prioritizing my case, though one officer has been amazing and takes it seriously. As for an update, it's only been 3 days since all this went down, and it feels too soon to make a new post. So here's what's happened since then. Chris got arrested. Apparently, he kidnapped his 2-year-old cousin's daughter. Thankfully, the little girl was found safe and sound. I shudder to think what his intentions were. If there are any more developments, I'll be sure to keep you posted. Thanks for tuning in, and if you haven't yet, subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay in the loop with more shocking real-life stories like this one happening around you.